The following program contains shocking amounts of primary sources. If you suffer from addiction to rumors, this show might not be right for you. Check with your cheerleading captain.
I'll be right back with today's program.
Proclaiming the truth in the highways and byways of the world. Fighting for justice in the dark alleys of politics. Raising the voice of resistance to a fevered pitch. And he knows where to find the best and worst jail food in America. Randall Terry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Kermit Gosnell made a deal to spend the rest of his life behind bars rather than face the death sentence. I'll tell you a little bit about that. And it's been a rough week for the Obama administration. One scandal after another. I would be happy, except for I really don't believe it's going to hurt him politically. I think that he's like the Teflon Don, baby. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. I've got to hear something from that doctor. The dude with the weird glasses. Can you bring him up? Can we get him in on this? Okay. Do it. Come on. Go, 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 go. Whether you're watching the voice of resistance on your cathode ray tube or your liquid crystal display, I urge you not to be like the blistering idiots that don't watch. Randall is almost as smart as me. Sure, he doesn't have a Nobel Prize in physics, but who does besides me and Einstein? Me and Einstein. Welcome to today's program, friend. We're going to focus today on Obama and the scandals that are swirling around him and his attorney general. But first, late breaking news, Kermit Gosnell, the abortionist who was found guilty in Philadelphia of over 200 criminal acts, including 3 counts of premeditated murder, first-degree murder. He cut a deal with the prosecutor, and the deal was very simple. I will not appeal my case. You sentence me to life in prison. I don't want to be executed. Now, the word in the street is that there is a pool being made in Las Vegas concerning his future behind bars. I don't know if this rumor is true, but he is a vile, despicable human being, and he is like hundreds of other abortionists that curse the land. In fact, there's breaking news in the last 24 hours about another abortionist in Texas, in Houston, Texas, and we'll bring you up to speed on this as the days and weeks progress. But 3 former employees came forward talking about every single day, 2, 3, 4 babies being born alive, and then him brutally killing them in ways that I will not describe today, but every bit as bad and perhaps even worse than the way Gosnell was killing them. Okay? It is child killing. It is murder. All right, let's roll forward. The Obama people are under blistering attack from the media, which you've got to love. You just have to love this. They're under blistering attack from the media because they took 2 months of records of Associated Press employees, both their business phones and their personal phones, to investigate a leak. Now, I'm going to play a montage of footage from various news sources that explain the leak, all right, what happened. This was a CIA leak to someone at AP who, the CIA had uncovered a plot to have a bombing in Yemen that was on the anniversary of the death of Osama bin Laden. So roll tape, Lane. You can see how upset people are, and then we will fast forward to today.
Because it started in May of last year with this scoop from the AP that the CIA had foiled an al-Qaeda suicide bomb plot being planned around the anniversary of Osama bin Laden's death. The AP reported at the time the plot was being orchestrated by al-Qaeda's affiliate in Yemen, that it involved an upgrade of the underwear bomb that failed to detonate aboard a jetliner over Detroit on Christmas Day in 2009. And, get this, that the FBI actually had the bomb in its possession, had managed to get its hands on the bomb, and was examining it to see whether it could have passed through airport security. The AP did not publish the report when they first had the information because the White House and CIA asked them not to, because intelligence operation was still underway. The Deputy Attorney General, James Cole, is in charge of the leak investigation. Mr. Cole, in fact, responded to the AP's scathing letter today, shedding at least some light on his decision-making process. Quote, the department undertook a comprehensive investigation, including, among other investigative steps, conducting over 550 interviews and reviewing tens of thousands of documents before seeking the phone records at issue. Revealed the Justice Department had secretly obtained 2 entire months of telephone records of reporters and editors, including incoming and outgoing calls for both work and personal phone numbers of individual AP reporters, general AP office numbers in New York, Washington, and Hartford, Connecticut, and the main number for AP reporters at the U.S. House Press Gallery. In a letter to the Justice Department demanding an explanation, the AP called the spying on its reporters a massive and unprecedented intrusion for which there could be no possible justification, and which it considers a serious interference with its constitutional rights.
We are not involved at the White House in any decisions made in connection with ongoing criminal investigations, as those matters are handled appropriately by the Justice Department, independently.
I'm not familiar with all that went into the formulation of the subpoena. I was recused from that matter.
I've ordered a preliminary review, and I will tell you, this has been a damaging leak. We shouldn't underestimate what really happened here.
The FBI has to do a full and complete investigation because this really is criminal in the literal sense of the word to leak out this type of sensitive, classified information on really almost unparalleled penetration of the enemy.
The leak, I think, has to be prosecuted. So the investigation is being done. Hopefully it can be concluded, and criminal charges will go to the Department of Justice.
I'd been interviewed by the FBI in connection with this matter, and to avoid the appearance of a potential conflict of interest, and to make sure that the investigation was seen as independent, I recused myself from this matter. This matter has thereafter been conducted by the U.S. Attorney here in Washington, D.C., under the supervision of the Deputy Attorney General. The Deputy Attorney General would have been the one who ultimately had to authorize the subpoena that went to the AP.
All right. I know that was a little bit convoluted, but do you understand what happened? Someone at the CIA leaked the fact that they had uncovered a plot and they actually had the bomb. The FBI actually got its hands on the bomb, all right? And AP is who finally broke the story after waiting. The Justice Department, and rather the Secret Service, our intelligence community, asked them to not let it out yet because there was an investigation still on. They finally did release it. The Justice Department reacted by a draconian, unprecedented intrusion into the Associated Press. We'll talk about that when we come back, and we'll start off with some really funny clips from Eric Holder. I'm not sure if our Attorney General is trying to be a stand-up comedian, but he's funny. Don't go away. Every day in America, over 3,500 babies are torn apart by abortion. Shouldn't all babies, like this living, unborn child, have the right to life? Baby killing will only end when Americans see the truth of what abortion does to innocent children. You can help end this Holocaust by showing the truth of abortion in your area with a Face the Truth tour. Go to facethetruthamerica.com to set up a Face the Truth tour in your area. The babies and their mothers will be eternally grateful. In the 1980s, banks introduced designer checks. When my buddy George Johnson inquired at the bank, they had nothing for pro-lifers. So the Johnsons created beautiful pro-life bank checks showing babies with a strong pro-life message. You can speak out for life with every check you write, whether personal or business checks. Be a voice for babies with these pro-life checks. Go to pro-life. Thomas Jefferson said, "A wise and frugal government which shall leave men free to regulate their own pursuits of industry and improvement, and shall not take from the mouth of labor the bread it has earned, this is the sum of good government." Welcome back to the program, friend. Eric Holder said that this leak was perhaps the most egregious leak he had ever seen. Certainly one of the top 2 or 3 in his whole public life, okay? The leak from the CIA to the Associated Press. Now, what's his reaction? According to FBI guidelines and Justice Department guidelines that have been hammered out with the press, with the approval of Congress, etc., before the Attorney General and the Justice Department subpoena phone records of journalists, they attempt to talk, to work things out, to see if there was any breaking of the law, because this country has a very long and proud history of a free press, all right? So things are leaked all the time in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is about as airtight as a sieve, okay? So Eric Holder gets word that there has been a leak. There might need to be an investigation, perhaps even criminal charges brought against somebody at the CIA for leaking this. So what does he do? He recuses himself. The rules state that before the phone records of journalists will be subpoenaed, that the Attorney General himself must sign off on that. The buck actually stops with the Attorney General himself, okay? So rather than have the responsibility of saying, yes, we're going to subpoena these records, he recused himself from the investigation. And he told the press that the reason he did so was, he said, well, I've got to see you guys all the time. I'm always being interviewed by you, and I just didn't want to be in the position of being the guy who had to approve the subpoenas of some of you. Now, if it's the most egregious leak he's ever seen in his life, don't you think that his duty as the Attorney General outweighs his desire to have a happy-go-lucky relationship with the press so he can go out with them and have beers and prime rib on Friday night? I mean, this is ludicrous. So watch this series of clips, all taken from the same press conference about these subpoenaed records for Associated Press reporters. Attorney General Holder, what exactly do you know? How did this happen? Lane, let him speak for himself.
Now, I'm not familiar with all that went into the formulation of the subpoena. I was recused from that matter. Well, as I said, I don't know all that went into the formulation of the subpoena. Again, you're getting into matters that are beyond my knowledge. I was recused in the matter, so I don't know. Well, I don't know what the circumstances were here, and I frankly don't have the knowledge of those facts. Well, I can't answer that question. I'm not going to comment on that.
Wow. Do you see what he's doing? He literally knew ahead of time he was going to be able to paint himself into a corner to say, I don't know. He knew that there would be fallout, that there would be outrage from the press. And the letters that are going back and forth now from various media outlets to the Justice Department are scathing. According to the reports that I have read, this is truly unprecedented for the White House, under any administration, under any party, to be this intrusive, this draconian, to tap or to get the records of 20 different phone lines, more than 20, personal and business, for 2 entire months, April and May of 2012. We've had stories we've covered on this show of the White House trying to browbeat the press into not covering certain stories. Is this their way of intimidating the press? I think that some members of the media, I hope it's true, are starting to see that this is a dirtbag administration. I could be wrong. I don't think that Obama is going to go down because of any of this. All right, I've got to take a break. When we come back, let's go to the next scandal. The IRS. Yeah, the IRS going after conservative groups, asking them what books they're reading. What is this, 1984? Georgie, hey there, Georgie Orwell. Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books, theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed. You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is while supplies last. How would you like to be able to reach hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of potential customers with your product or your company or your web-based business? Well, you can do that right here on this show. Every single day, we get phone calls or letters or orders online from states all over the country where people are watching this television show. Right now, we are seen in 45 cities at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time every night, and then a rerun again at 12:30 midnight. You can reach them using this show at advertising rates that are so inexpensive, it would blow your mind. So, if you're interested, contact us at the phone number that you see on the screen or the email address, and we can talk about how you can grow your business and help support this show. Welcome back to the program. You trust the IRS, don't you? I mean, I know I do. Every time I get an IRS letter in the mail, I think, man, they're watching out for me. They're watching out for my interests as an American taxpayer, and frankly, I trust them. Not. So it has now come to light that several area offices of the IRS were dragging their feet, were unduly and perhaps criminally investigating and making demands of various Tea Party groups who were soliciting a 501c4 tax-exempt status, all right? So let's do it. Let's roll tape, and I want you to listen. This is almost funny. Obama and his press secretary are literally almost saying the exact same thing. This is just talking points, all right? This is gibberish talking points to get the press to go away and leave them alone. Roll the tape.
I first learned about it from the same news reports that I think most people learned about this. I think it was on Friday. If, in fact, IRS personnel engaged in the kind of practices that have been reported on and were intentionally targeting conservative groups, then that's outrageous.
My understanding is this matter is under investigation by the IG at the IRS. The IRS, as you know, is an independent enforcement agency with only 2 political appointees.
Because the IRS, as an independent agency, requires absolute integrity, and people have to have confidence that they're applying it in a nonpartisan way.
2 things need to be noted, which is IRS is an independent enforcement agency, which I believe, as I understand it, contains only 2 political appointees within it. The individual who was running the IRS at the time was actually an appointee from the previous administration. But separate from that, there is no question that if this activity took place, it's inappropriate and there needs to be action taken, and the president would expect that it be thoroughly investigated and action would be taken.
If you've got the IRS operating in anything less than a neutral and nonpartisan way, then that is outrageous. It is contrary to our traditions, and people have to be held accountable, and it's got to be fixed. So we'll wait and see what exactly all the details and the facts are. But I've got no patience with it. I will not tolerate it, and we will make sure that we find out exactly what happened on this.
Let me get this straight. It's outrageous, and we should want to trust them, and they're an independent office, and they don't have any political appointees except a couple, and one of them was from the previous administration. I could write this stuff in my sleep, all right? The truth of the matter is that the IRS is one of the most draconian arms of the federal government. And it should be our goal to eliminate the IRS completely, or at least the federal income tax. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about the IRS and ask the question, why would you try and become a 501c4 when you have other options? Why would you take their stupid bit and bridle in your mouth?
You know what I gotta say about Randall Terry? Just push play! Ow!
Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. Welcome back to the program, friend. What business is it of the government's how much money you make? I mean, I want you to just stop and think about that. Every year, April 15th rolls around, and all of us, like dutiful little house slaves, go and fill out our paperwork, myself included, okay? Myself included. And we keep all these records, and we fret, and did I go do it right? And I spend hundreds of dollars on a CPA, and on and on and on. Because the government has what it believes is the right to know how much I make and you make and all of our friends make. This is obscene, all right? A just way to collect taxes. 46 out of 50 states right now have a state sales tax. So they already have the machinery in place. A just way to collect taxes, because we do need to have taxes, would be through a federal sales tax. The rich are going to spend a lot of money on their yachts and on their houses and whatever it is they're doing, okay? They can pay sales tax. They're going to pay a lot of it. Somebody who's poor is going to pay very little tax, but they still get to enjoy the roads and the defense of our army. And none of us have to fill out paperwork and tell Uncle Sam how much we make. And let me go a step further. The graduated income tax, all right? You pay 15% if you're in this bracket, and then you pay 22.5% if you're in this bracket, and 30-something% if you're in this bracket, and high 30s or low 40s if you're in that bracket. Depending on how much money you make, you pay a bigger percentage. That is based upon covetousness, jealousy, greed. God says to everyone, for example, pay a tithe, pay 10%. If you have 100, pay 10. If you have 1,000, pay 100. If you have 10,000, pay 1,000. He doesn't say if you only have 100, pay 1% or pay nothing. And if you have 100,000, well, I want you to pay 40%. No, it's not equitable. It's not just. So when you've got the federal government taking more money than God himself asks for, that should be your first clue that we're in a real problem. And when the government is punishing people because they're making more money, well, at that point, we're involved in envy, jealousy, greed, and dare I say it, theft. Thou shalt not steal, Uncle Sam. Thou shalt not steal.